Hey guys, what's up? Yes, I know it's been a long freaking time. No, I'm not necessarily going to explain why. All I'll say is a lot of shit has gone down, and not all of it's been good. In fact, quite a lot is bad. To answer Wonder Pope's question on my channel, no, things have not all been okay. But I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, and it's not like you guys want to know what the hell's going on with me anyway, so fuck that. You just want more videos. I will say that I've been trying to put videos up. I actually have at least 5 or 6 of them that I had recorded over this time. It's just that I didn't get around to actually posting them up. Like, I edited them and all that shit, and I never got a chance to like put them up. And by the time I was going to put them up, since I was talking about topical issues, the issue that already passed, so I figured, it's kind of stupid to put them up because it's passe. So I just let them slide. Maybe I might put them up if you guys are curious, but it's old shit, so why do you want to see old shit? Anyway, I thought that I was, because of a discussion that I had, and also because of something that I heard on a talk show recently, which I thought was really, really interesting. I thought I would try to put up a video on that, but I'm going to have to kind of minimize what I want to talk about a little bit because something recently has pissed me the fuck off, so I want to rant about that too. Which I really shouldn't, because it's an old pet peeve of mine, and it's something I've already discussed, and it's something that you guys already know my stance, and I already know it's fucking stupid, but I can't help it. But let's go with the nice, well, it's not really nice, but the more calmer shit first before I go into my pet peeve. The first off was, it's going to be weird how I'm going to segue into this, I guess. I was listening to 2 shows, actually. One was actually a talk, and I really am kicking myself now because I don't remember this woman's name. But I'm pretty sure one of you guys will know who it is. Or at least, I'm pretty sure a few of you guys will know who it is. There's a woman in Canada right now who is trying to open up a dialogue and some type of discussion because she is hoping to find some way to ban or at least minimize the wearing of the burqa in Canada. And she's causing quite a stir up there. There are a lot of people who are for the idea, and there are a lot of people against the idea, and they're for the reasons that you would expect. The people who are for the idea saying that, it's a symbol of oppression against women, and it's an old outdated practice, and it could possibly even have links to terrorism. And the people who are against the idea are saying, you're shitting on our religious freedom, and you're misinterpreting customs, and and tradition, and no one's forcing these women to wear them, and like there's all this back and forth. And I was listening to that, and I was like the debate anyway, and I was also listening to even before that, talk on 2 people who were discussing faith, but in a more general manner. It was a Christian guy and a Jewish guy who were both talking about how there needs to be some way that all these different religions can just find some way to kind of put aside some of their dogmatic differences, because at the end of the day, many of the religious viewpoints that they have and the way they go about life are generally similar in terms of how that they think human beings should, walk on the planet. Now, I'm bringing up these topics not because I want to discuss my viewpoints on the whole burqa thing, or my viewpoints specifically on whether or not there's similarities between, Christianity and Judaism and Islam and all that type of stuff. But rather, I would like to point out something that occurred to me as I was listening to this stuff, particularly the people who were defending their faiths or defending the type of practices that they wanted to do. It reminded me about how human beings ultimately are always going to go back to what makes them feel comfortable and safe in any type of threatening situation where they feel they can no longer handle the changes around them. Before I explain that further, let me bring up something that's a little bit more secular. Way back, many of you guys know that I lived in New York. I lived in Staten Island for a while. And there's this hill in Staten Island. There's a lot of hills in Staten Island. But there's one particular hill that I remembered was extremely steep but it also curved. And so many freaking accidents happened on that hill, especially motorcycle accidents. Not many people, made it around that turn and lived because they were taking it too damn fast, especially on rainy days with the oil slicks and whatnot. And then end up, smearing themselves in the walls or skidding across the ground and having to be picked up in Ziploc bags afterwards. But one particular story I remembered from that hill, from one guy who saw the accident, was he remembered it was a really bad motorcycle accident, and the guy ended up, rubbing himself across the hill, down the road. And I won't go into any details, but I'm pretty sure you can imagine what happens when you F up on a motorcycle at, high speeds and end up having to, skid all the way down. The guy ended up dying there. But he didn't go quietly. I mean, he was in tremendous pain, but he was also in deep shock. And as he was in shock and the paramedics are there and everyone's trying to, find some way to see what they can do for him, he died screaming one word, or rather one name, or you could say title, Mommy, over and over again, screaming for his mother before he finally died. Now this was a grown man, okay? And I'm pretty sure some more unscrupulous or, more tactless few of you are probably making jokes about how he died screaming for his mommy. But let's think about that for a moment. This was probably the most extreme circumstance he's ever... Yeah, it is the most extreme circumstance he ever is going to have because he didn't live through it. But when he was faced with that and he was in shock, what did his mind revert to? The safest, most comfortable thing that he can cling to. The image and memory of his mother. I bring that up because this is what all human beings do at some point or another. We go back to what is familiar or to what is the most, or makes us feel the most comfortable or what makes us feel the most safe in the most strenuous or stressful of situations. We all do it in some form or another. And if you keep that in mind, you may start to reason out why there are so many people who, despite what we know of the world today, still cling to things like old superstitious beliefs and religions. It's not that they're stupid. Okay, it's not that all of them are stupid, because a lot of them are pretty intelligent. But we're going to have to come to a rather uncomfortable fact about human life today. Human existence in these days and times is extremely fast-paced, with tons of new information coming at us at a consistent rate, faster and at vaster amounts than we have ever seen before, to a vast variety of people. I mean, there was not that long ago, at least in, when you're talking about the scope of human history, in relative terms in human history, there was a time when very few people on this planet even knew how to read in their own language. Okay, I mean, this whole thing about rampant literacy, that's a new thing. This whole thing about lots of people knowing, mathematics and being able to at least do things algebraically, to understand the basics of chemistry or biology, to understand geology, just the basics of all these different fields, that's relatively new. Before, this was something that was only open to a privileged few, and even then, those privileged few didn't have it all. They had, there were some people who were, busy trying to, figure out these scientific or technological principles on their own, and they kept it their own guarded secrets because they didn't want the other people to take what they had, and then they only shared it with privileged peers. But the funny thing is, it's only through the sharing of knowledge that we're able to build upon it. Which, that's a subject for another time for all the people who believe that one culture or another culture was better because, we came upon these advancements. The only reason why they came up with the advancements is because somebody else came up with some building blocks first that they built upon. But that's a whole nother topic. Fact of the matter is, these days, with so much information being spread around at a constant rate, and with so much knowledge coming at us, and so much of the world changing that goes against our inborn human perceptions of how the world works, it's a little too much to keep up with at times. Let's face it, the human mind, quite frankly, isn't really equipped to accept the realities that we have found out about the universe and just hell, the earth itself, our own existence. We still, when we hold an object like this, believe that it's solid. Science has proven it's not. But it's hard for us to fathom that this thing is not solid. But it isn't. Our minds can't keep up with that. That's just a small example. It's been proven that our minds constantly keep creating what I like to call useful illusions in order for us to live from day to day. But all the things we're discovering about life, and I'm not just talking about science, about culture, about the way we think about each other, what we think of with humanity itself, it's constantly being challenged. And it constantly forces human beings to be in this state of constantly not knowing about things around them. They're constantly in a state of not really knowing the truth, despite the fact that we always want to know the truth, or that we claim to know the truth about life. We really don't know shit. And we constantly keep getting bombarded with new information, which proves that we don't really know anything. Hell, right now we're walking around thinking that we know everything there is to know. We're better off than the people in the past. But the funny thing is, the people in the past sought the same fucking thing. And in the future, people are going to look at us and go, man, we were fucking ignorant back then. Because we really don't know. And human beings don't like to be in a situation where they're in the unknown. We don't like it. Told somebody, you want to go down that dark tunnel? There's no lights in there. You've never been down there before. You don't want to go in there. You don't know what's there. People don't like going into the unknown. But this whole world is full of unknowns, and it's getting more unknown all the time. And when people are faced with all that type of shit, especially people who aren't used to constantly being bombarded by this, they're going to want to run. And they're going to want to run to something safe. Something that has all the answers. Something that seems a lot simpler for them. Something that at one time they were very comfortable with. Religion's one of those things. Traditions like, being in burqas, or, even some of the most heinous type of customs that you may think of that we now look upon and frown upon. There was a time when people, they accepted it because that's what they knew and that's what they were comfortable with. It was a knowledge that they had that they thought prepared them for the world they were in. It was a safety zone. And the world is constantly knocking that safety zone out and blowing them up, and people are trying to run back. I mean, have you noticed these days that it's not just Christianity in the United States which seems to be getting more and more fundamentalist and conservative in nature? It's happening all around the world, and it's not just Christianity. Islam is having their fundamentalists jumping all over the place. Judaism is having their fundamentalists jumping around all over the place trying to get more fundamentalists. I'm pretty sure you're seeing the same things with Hinduism and so on and so forth, because they're retreating from a world that was just constantly changing and warping around them, where they don't have all the answers. And they'd rather go back to something where they do feel comfortable. Like the guy on the road screaming for his mother. It's a human thing. So I'm bringing this up because I want us to remember every now and then that just like, it's easy to point the finger at somebody who doesn't know much and say, oh, they're ignorant, stupid people. But you got to remember, you can be just as ignorant and stupid. You may know just a little bit more than they do, but there's still a whole lot about life that you don't know. And you're probably clinging on to things that you believe is true now, but later on, somebody's going to prove you wrong. Because that's a trend in human history. We don't really know it all. So I'm bringing that up so you can think twice about being arrogant whenever you happen to be talking about somebody else's beliefs or traditions. It's a human thing to fall back to these things. And that's what you're really combating. It's not just the ignorance. It's your own instincts that you're going against when you're having these discussions about religion and dogma and all that. Okay, enough about that. I spent longer on that than I wanted to.